Okay, now we're seeing Be'ezer Shem Yisbarach Daf Tez Zayin Omid Aleph. Also Kiri B'shtach V'loi Yimeir Choy V'achkech Ochloi. A person made a Kiri and then he bowed down. It is also because it's Avodah Zarah. It's also Banor. And after that he made Miruach. And then it becomes Tevel. In Mitzvah Shem Oichel Tevel in the lake because the Isser of Tevel is not Chal on Isser Avodah Zarah. Shem Oichel aber it's Gezara like it. And it's a Chal is a Chal. If first he did Meruach and then he bowed down, means by Mishim Echel Tevel like it, Shem Akim like it. Why? Because it's a Chomer, Chal is a Chal. The is a Chomer of the Zara is Chal and Tevel. A Bun Bachia boy. The Oichel Terum is Chomer of Pesach. Lamiyah Meshal. The Mishnah says that if Terumas Chometz of Pesach, so you have to pay. And the question is, whom do you pay? Whom do you pay? Because there's a din for sure. The Mishnah says that if you ate Teruma, you have to pay for somebody, even though it's not worth anything. So, but the question is, do you pay it for a coin or you just sell it? Just that then you have to be mafresh something after Pesach and say this should be for the truma that I ate, and then you can sell it for a coin. Let's see. It's called a goes to truma mevim a coin. Similar question. Somebody steals from his grandfather, he's Yisrael, and he eats the truma. And then when it comes to pay, he is the only Yerush now. He has to take it out from his shoes. He can't separate and say, okay, this is for the payment, and then he can sell the truma for somebody. No, he has to actually take a certain amount that he ate, and that should be turned into truma, and then he sells, and then he has to give it to some for kohen. No, separates it, turns truma, and then he can sell it for a kohen. Even though he holds there that there he said you sell it, but here he has to pay for the shevet. He cannot just sell it. He has to give it as a matana for a coin. Amalei afa nosav kain. Yasa says, yes, I agree to you. Why? She can truma tameya afra l'shevet. Means even truma tameya, if you eat, it's not worth anything. You still have to pay. So when you eat something from your grandfather and then it comes to payment, you're the Irish. So we can say it's like when it comes to payment, you yashin this already, so you didn't steal from anybody. Like imagine you ate it after you Yerush Truma from him. But so there's no din of tashlum because there's no gzeila here. But here there is a gzeila. Just he's saying it's not worth anything. That's not a good excuse. You say but Truma Tamei you also have to pay. So who then if you eat Truma's chometz at Pesach, you separated Truma on Pesach and it turned into chometz, and then you eat it up. So you still have to pay it, and you can't just say, okay, I'm going to separate Truma, I'm going to sell it. No, you have to give Truma for some coin after Pesach. Also, he said no. Even in this case, Rabbi Yochanan is also going to argue, if according to Rashbal, you don't have to give it for a coin. You can just separate it and then sell it. Abiyasa boy. And I had eigentlich Pachas Shava Pruta. Ma'aseh Chayav Tashlum. What's the halacha? If Pachas Shava Pruta you have to pay by Hegdish. Amalei Mishma Inam Enado. It says Eshechotem Na Kodesh Yishalim Prat Le Pachas Shava Pruta. It says in that verse that you don't. That's in Shava Pruta. There's no din of Tashlum. Is Tanya the Rabbis? No, it's opposite. Andere praat the Pachas Sheva Pruta the carbon. There's no carbon. Talk about Vishoigig. Then there's an Asham Talui. I'm sorry, Asham Me'ilas. So there's no Asham Me'ilas if you're in the Hene Pachas Sheva Pruta. And Amal Rab is Tashlumen. So there's Din Tashlumen. There's two things. There's Tashlumen, and that's even Pachas Sheva Pruta. But there's Din of Keren v'Choimish v'Asham. That only applies by Sheva Pruta. That Din you have to pay a Asham and a Choimish. Amr Chavrai Kim Rabbi Yasa Lamas Netani. You see in our Mishnah this question that you asked: if you eat or you had a hand from Hegdish Pachas Sheva Pruta. You see the halacha in our Mishnah. Oichel Terumas Chamas Pesach Shoig Mishalom Keren v'Choimish Meizet Pater B'Tashlumen and B'Nei Eitzim. Kamad Teim Etam Pachas Sheva Pruta Apish Ein Mishalom Choimish v'Asham Shalom Keren v'Ama Afacha Kein. So you see in our Mishnah that Meizet is Pater. So Shoigig is a different story. Shoigig, that's what you said before, that Shoigig, there's a special din that you pay the fee, the midah, the fee that you ate a certain value. When it comes to Meized, you put them into Shlomo. Why? Because it doesn't have a Sheva Pruta. So you see that there's no such thing as paying Pachas B'Sheva Pruta. If there would be by Hegdish such a din, why isn't here by Chometz such a din? That let him pay something. Even Pachas B'Sheva Pruta, let him pay. If it's true there by Hegdish that there's still a din Tashlumen, why shouldn't there be a din Tashlumen here in our Mishnah? By Meizet. Even though there's no Choimish v'Asham, but it's a different story. You have to pay, but even if Pachas Sheva Pruta, the one understood here that it's a very interesting thing that it's worth Pachas Sheva Pruta, the Chometz. I don't know why it's worth anything, but the one says if you hold that by Hegdish Pachas Sheva Pruta you have to pay. So in our Mishnah by Meizet you should pay because it's worth Pachas Sheva Pruta. The one has the answer, it's not true. It's not worth anything. It's not even worth Pach. It's not worth even a half a Pruta. Because it's Chometz. You can't do anything with it. Taman in Ro La'ashlam, in our Mishnah, Taman means our Mishnah. Ram Halacha, he means by Me'ila. Roi La'ashlam, he was in the head of half a Pruta of Hegdish. So half a Pruta is a half a Pruta. But our Mishnah, it's nothing. It's not a half a Pruta, it's zero. So there's no Indian of paying if he ate something that's worthless in Gansen. So it's very hard to understand the kasha, but that's what the B'Shalom is trying to say, that you should say a din Tashlumen even though you didn't, the Chometz is nothing. You can't do anything with the Chometz. Okay, now we'll go to the last part. This is the Gemara in Elon Iris, in Silvus. Shoig b'truma meized b'Chometz. Shoig b'truma meized b'Nazir. Shoig b'truma meized b'Kippur. 3 cases here. A person ate b'shoigik truma, but he is amazed in Chometz, so he's chayav kares. In our Mishnah we're talking the guy didn't know it's Chometz, but let's say he knows for sure he knows it's Chometz, but didn't know it's truma. Or shoigik b'truma amazed b'nazir, a nazir that drank wine of truma, and he's chayav malchus. Or shoig b'truma meizim kippurim. Again, the same story. He ate in kippur, truma of a kohen. So there's malchus and chorus. The question is now, if there's a din that ein atam chayav b'shtei rishiyos, since he's chayav malchus on all these things, and he's sometimes even chorus, but let's say malchus at least. So the malchus should pater from tashlumen of truma. If you see it say that mammon and malchus, the malchus paters from mammon. That's the thing. There's also you can't be mechayev a person mishum shteirish iyos. Since he gets malchus already, maybe there's no din that he has to pay. So they're going into the Shnei Devarim Nicha. If you consider it for two separate things, then Nicha means that for sure we know that Lacha is clear that he has to pay. There's two separate chiyuvim. It's not a din. When there's one shame and this thing brings two chiyuvim, then we say one passes from the second. But if it's two separate things, then everybody agrees that one thing doesn't part. There's two isurim here, and that iser you get malchus, and that iser you pay. So it's not related, these two things. So why shouldn't you? So there's far to say that the kuli alma you should pay. And if you say no, it has a din like dover echad, like edonairis, that you know that the same thing is chayiv malchus and knas. It's one. It's if it's considered like one thing, then I argue if you do one thing that has two isurim in it, there in Ksubas, the argument between Rabbi Yechon and Shimon Lakish is in a case where there's Mammon and Malchus, let's say by Edom Zomimim, or by somebody who eats chaylev shel chaveroi, he eats chaylev of his friend. That's like one thing. It's a tzarech in this because it's also two things. It's chaylev and it's chaveroi. But the Gemara views it there as one thing. Chaylev shel chaveroi is like one thing. There they argue if there's malchus, if you give both or only one. But here there's two separate shemas. It's truma and it's chomer. It's truma and nazir. So you could say that it has been like two separate things, and maybe everybody would agree that you could be mechayev because of both stuff. This belongs to sugya of Einiris, so I guess there you can go more into the sugya to understand what the Gemara is trying to say here. But Shnei Devarim. Okay, Atkan.